The Lebel Model 1886 rifle, French, Fusil Modèle 1886 dit Fusil Lebel, is also known as the Fusil MLE 1886 M93, after a bolt modification was added in 1893. It is an 8 mm bolt-action infantry rifle that entered service in the French Army in 1887. It is a repeating rifle that can hold 8 rounds in its 4-stock tube magazine, 1 round in the transporter plus 1 round in the chamber. The Lebel rifle has the distinction of being the first military firearm to use smokeless powder ammunition. The new propellant powder, Poudre B, was nitrocellulose-based and had been invented in 1884 by French chemist Paul Vier. Lieutenant Colonel Nicolas Lebel contributed a flat-nosed 8 mm full metal jacket bullet, Bale M, or Bale Lebel. 12 years later, in 1898, a solid brass-pointed, Spitzer, and boat-tail bullet called Bale D was retained for all 8 mm Lebel ammunition. Each case was protected against accidental percussion inside the tube magazine by a primer cover and by a circular groove around the primer cup which caught the tip of the following pointed bullet. Featuring an oversized bolt with front locking lugs and a massive receiver, the Lebel rifle was a durable design capable of long-range performance. In spite of early obsolete features, such as its tube magazine and the shape of 8 mm Lebel-rimmed ammunition, the Lebel rifle remained the basic weapon of French line infantry during World War I, 1914–1918. Altogether, 3.45 million Lebel rifles were produced by the 3 French state factories between 1887 and 1916. Operation, features, and accessories. In operation, the bolt is turned up to the vertical position until the 2 opposed front locking lugs are released from the receiver. At the end of the bolt's opening phase, a ramp on the receiver bridge forces the bolt to the rear, thus providing leveraged extraction of the fired case. The rifle is fitted with a 2-piece wood stock, and features a spring-loaded tubular magazine in the forend. Taking aim at intermediate distances is done with a ramp sight graduated between 400 and 800 meters. The latter rear sight is adjustable from 850 to 2400 meters. Flipping forward, that latter sight reveals the commonly used fixed combat sight up to 400 meters. The MLE 1886 rifle has a 10-round capacity, 8 in the underbarrel tube magazine, 1 in the transporter, and 1 in the chamber. The Lebel rifle features a magazine cutoff on the right side of the receiver. When activated, it prevents feeding cartridges from the magazine. Note: the MLE 1886 Lebel rifle does not have any form of applied, mechanical, safety. If the bolt is cocked and closed, pulling the trigger will cause the firing pin to be released. Extreme care must be exercised when handling a loaded MLE 1886 rifle. The MLE 1886 Lebel rifle was issued with a long needle-like quadrangular épée bayonet, the épée bayonet Modèle 1886, with a length of 52 cm, 20 inches. With its X-shaped cross-section, the épée bayonet was optimized for thrusting, designed to readily penetrate thick clothing and leather. The bayonet was dubbed Rosalie by French soldiers who were issued it during World War I. Origins and development. Historically, the MLE 1886 Lebel rifle was the first military firearm to use smokeless powder ammunition. This new propellant powder, made of stabilized nitrocellulose, was called Poudre B, powder B, and had just been invented in 1884 by Paul Vier, 1854–1934. Poudre B was 3 times as powerful as black powder, for the same weight, and left virtually no residues of combustion. At about the same time, in 1882, a captain, later Colonel, Edouard Rubin, 1846–1920, Swiss Army, had invented the first full metal jacket, FMJ, rifle bullets. Wrapping a protective copper jacket around the lead core of a bullet was also a transformative event in firearm history, since, from then on, bullets could be fired at very high velocities without melting inside a rifle's barrel. Edouard Rubin was soon followed by Hebler, also in Switzerland, who created the first steel-jacketed rifle bullets. Shortly thereafter, in January 1886, the French War Minister, General Georges Ernest Boulanger, requested the urgent application of these two technical breakthroughs to the design of a new infantry rifle. He appointed General Tremont in charge of the project, which had to be completed within 1 year. Firstly, the 11 mm Grass cartridge case was redesigned into an 8 mm case, a transformation carried out by Grass and Lieutenant Colonel de Tailor. The repeating mechanism, derived from the French MLE 1884 Grass Kropatschek repeating rifle, was implemented by Albert Close and Louis Verdun at the Châtellerault arsenal. The bolts, two opposed front locking lugs, inspired from the two rear locking lugs on the bolt of the earlier Swiss Vetterli rifle, were designed by Colonel Bonnet. The 8 mm flat-nosed FMJ Bale M bullet was suggested by Tremont and designed by Lieutenant Colonel Nicolas Lebel, after whom the rifle, and the caliber, are named. However, Lebel did not lead the team responsible for creating the new rifle. He amicably protested during his lifetime that Tremont and Grass were the two superior officers who jointly deserved that credit. Nevertheless, his name, which only designated the Bale M bullet as the Bale Lebel, informally stuck to the entire weapon. The Lebel followed the bolt-action 11 mm MLE 1874 Grass and the MLE 1878 French naval Kropatschek rifle designed by an Austrian, Alfred von Kropatschek, and shared the latter's tubular magazine in the forend. Two transitional repeating infantry bolt-action rifles, still chambered for the 11 mm Grass black powder cartridge, followed the MLE 1878 rifle, the MLE 1884 and the MLE 1885 rifles. The latter had a two-piece stock and a massive steel receiver and closely resembles the MLE 1886 Lebel. In 1893, an improved version of the M1886 Lebel was designated Fusil MLE 1886M, Modify, 93. The most useful improvement was a modification of the bolt head so it would divert away from the shooter's face any hot gases escaping from a ruptured cartridge case. The firing pin and its rear knob had already been modified in 1887 while the stacking rod remained unchanged. Lastly, the fixation of the rear sight onto the barrel was substantially improved during that 1893 modification. See, Claude Lombard, 1987. The Lebel rifle was manufactured by three government arsenals, Châtellerault, St-Étienne, and Toul. It featured a two-piece stock and a massive receiver designed to withstand the higher pressures developed by the new smokeless powder-based cartridges. Between 1935 and 1940, a carbine-length, 17.7-inch barrel, version of the Lebel was issued to mounted colonial troops in North Africa. This short carbine version of the Lebel, called the MLE 1886 M93R35, was assembled in large numbers, about 50,000, at Manufacture d'Armes de Toul, MAT, beginning in 1935. It used all of the Lebel's parts except for a newly manufactured shorter barrel of carbine length. Since the new carbine's tube magazine had to be shortened as well, its magazine capacity was only 3 rounds. Competitors and successors. Upon its introduction, the Lebel rifle proved to be vastly superior to the Mauser M71/84, the German Army's replacement of the single-shot Dries needle gun. France finished its rearmament program with the Lebel in 1889, just 18 months after the Second Reich had completed its rifle replacement program with 780,000 M71/84s. The new French rifle alarmed Bismarck. Tests at Spandau Arsenal in the winter of 1887 to 1888 found that the Lebel could fire 43 rounds of smokeless powder ammunition per minute compared to just 26 of black powder ammunition for the M71/84. The inferiority of the Mauser M71/84 and its 11 mm black powder ammunition was one reason why Bismarck opposed going to war with France that winter, despite being pressed by War Minister Valderzay. Another reason was that the new French de Bange field artillery, now equipped with breech loaders after the lessons of the 1870 war, both outnumbered and outperformed the Krupp C64 field guns in their rate of fire. The MLE 1886 rifle proved to be a sturdy and serviceable weapon, but one which became rapidly outdated by advances in military rifle and ammunition designs. As early as 1888, the German Army's Rifle Testing Commission had introduced in response a completely new turn-bolt magazine rifle with a spring-loaded box magazine, the Geur 88 Commission rifle. Above all else, it had been designed around the first-ever rimless military cartridge using the new smokeless powder ammunition, the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge. The early Geur 88 was followed 10 years later by the highly successful Geur 98 Mauser rifle, which still fired the same cartridge but with ballistic improvements. In response to being left behind by Germany's Mauser rifle, the French military decided in 1909 to replace the Lebel and its rimmed cartridge by more advanced designs. Consequently, while the bolt-action Berthier rifle was first issued in 1907 as a stopgap to arm colonial troops, the French Defense Ministry was planning to leapfrog other military forces with an advanced semi-automatic infantry rifle. This new weapon was the Menie rifle, also known as the Fusil A6, which chambered a more powerful 7 x 59 mm rimless cartridge. It was adopted in 1912 after an extensive competitive process. However, its manufacture, which was to begin in 1913, was suspended because of the imminent risk of war with Germany. Instead, and during World War I, the French Army chose the easier and less expensive solution of adopting a gas-operated semi-automatic rifle which incorporated some Lebel parts, the Fusil MLE 1917 RSC, once again in 8mm Lebel caliber. It was manufactured in large numbers, 85,000, during 1918 and issued to select soldiers in line infantry regiments. However, the MLE 1917 RSC was criticized by infantrymen as being too heavy, too long, and too difficult to maintain in the trenches. Furthermore, it also needed a special 5-round clip to operate. In the end, the aged M1886 Lebel and variants of the Berthier rifle remained in service until the armistice of November 11, 1918 and beyond. The 8mm Lebel cartridge. When it first appeared, the Lebel's 8 x 50 smokeless ammunition allied to its longer range and flatter trajectory brought a revolution in infantry armament. A soldier equipped with a Lebel could outrange troops carrying rifles chambered for black powder, large-caliber lead bullet ammunition. Using smokeless powder, he could remain virtually invisible to an enemy at longer ranges, yet locate an enemy at any range by the smoke from their rifles. He could also carry more cartridges for the same overall weight. A new 197 GR, 12.8 grams, solid brass, 90% copper 10% zinc, pointed, Spitzer, and boat-tail bullet, Bale D, historically the very first boat-tailed plus Spitzer rifle bullet to be invented and then widely manufactured, was adopted for the Lebel rifle in 1898 and placed in generalized service after 1901. Tailor's own Bale D provided a flatter trajectory and increased the range of the MLE 1886 rifle to about 4,000 yards and its maximum effective wounding distance, when fired indirectly at massed area targets, to 1,800 yards. More importantly, due to the bullet's flatter trajectory, the realistic effective range of the 8mm Lebel was increased to approximately 457 yards, 418 m, using open sights. The altered ballistic trajectory of the new cartridge necessitated a replacement of the Lebel's rear sights. Firstly, in order to avoid accidental percussion inside the Lebel tube magazine and in order to receive the pointed bullet tip of the cartridge that followed, all the French-manufactured military Bale D and Bale N ammunition had a circular groove etched around each primer pocket. Moreover, the burden primer on each French-made military Bale D round was further protected against accidental percussion by a thick, convex primer cover which was crimped in after 1915, the Bale D AM. The last type of Lebel military-issue ammunition to be introduced was the cartouche MLE 1932N, using a cupronickel, silver-colored, jacketed Spitzer boat-tailed lead-cord bullet which was only suitable for Lebel and Berthier rifles marked N on top of the receiver and barrel. This 8mm Lebel heavier bale N ammunition had originally been designed to increase the range of the Hotchkiss machine gun. Its manufacturing ceased in France during the late 1960s. 8mm Lebel ammunition was powerful for its time. It ranked slightly higher in muzzle energy than .303 British and slightly lower than the German 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge. The chief negative characteristic of 8mm Lebel ammunition was the geometry of its rimmed bottlenecked case, due to the will to reuse 11mm grass case set of tools. This adversely affected the magazine capacity and functioning of firearms, particularly in automatic weapons such as the Chow Chat machine rifle. The Lebel cartridge's heavily tapered case shape and substantial rim forced weapon designers to resort to magazines with extreme curvatures as for the Chow Chat machine rifle. In contrast, rimless straight-wall cartridges such as the .3006 Springfield and the 8 x 57 mm Mauser could easily be loaded in straight vertical magazines. The M1886 in service. Following the adoption of the Lebel rifle by the French Army, most other nations switched to small-bore infantry rifles using smokeless ammunition. Germany and Austria adopted new 8mm infantry rifles in 1888, Italy and Russia in 1891, and the US in 1892 with the Krag rifle. The British upgraded their .303 Lee Metford with smokeless cartridges in 1895, resulting in the .303 Lee Enfield. In the early years of the 20th century, the Lebel rifle was sold in the French overseas colonies for the protection of civilians or for hunting purposes. Brand new military issue 1886 and 1886-93 Lebels could be purchased by authorized civilians and were featured in catalogues of the French mail-order firm Manu France printed until 1939. Those civilian market Lebels sold by Manu France were strictly identical in fit and finish to the military issue Lebels, except for the lack of a bayonet lug and no stacking rod. Furthermore, a large game hunting version of the Lebel called the Lebel Africain was also offered for sale by Manu France during the pre-World War II years. This particular version featured a shorter barrel, a turned-down bolt handle and a slimmer, better finished stock. However, it had to compete as a hunting weapon against the bolt-action Mauser and Mannlicher Skonar hunting rifles that became available on the French marketplace, in the early 1900s. World War I usage. The Lebel rifle was a hard-hitting and solidly built weapon with a reputation for reliability in adverse environments including those of trench warfare. The Lebel rifle was quite accurate up to 300 yards and still deadly at 3 times that distance, thanks to the Spitzer and boat-tail Bale D bullet. Nevertheless, the Lebel rifle was not without its flaws. The slow-to-reload tube magazine was the Lebel's worst handicap when compared to other military rifles of that period. The Lebel's diminutive sights, while accurate, were low and small, thus not easy to align and unprotected against shocks. The lack of a wooden handguard on top of the barrel led to burned hands after prolonged firings. Nevertheless, the Lebel rifle was preferred by French infantrymen over the M1907-15 Berthier rifle with its limited 3-round magazine capacity. The difference was the Lebel's larger magazine capacity in an emergency, 8 rounds plus an extra round in the transporter. In the words of David Fortier, in Standard Catalogue of Military Rifles, 2003, the rifle shoulders nicely and is comfortable with a 13.5 length of pull. Align the hard-to-see sights and squeeze. When the hammer drops, the Lebel slaps hard on both ends. The bolt handle is a bit out of reach due to its forward placement, but the action is fairly smooth and easy to run from the shoulder. You just have to give it a bit of a tug at the end to snap the shell carrier up. With quality ammunition and a good bore, these rifles are capable of fine accuracy. A rugged and reliable design, the Lebel soldiered on far longer than it should have. During World War I, 1914 to 1918, the Lebel remained the standard rifle of French infantry, whereas the Berthier rifle, a lengthened version of the Berthier carbine featuring a Mannlicher-style 3-round magazine, was issued to colonial troops, to Allied contingents in the French army, and to the French Foreign Legion. The latter, however, demanded and obtained in 1920 being re-equipped with the Lebel rifle. The Lebel rifle could also be used with a removable VB, Vivanbesiers, rifle grenade launcher. While the Lebel rifle was quite effective up to 300 meters with the standard Bale D boat tail bullet ammunition, accuracy at longer distances was impaired by the existing open sights. Consequently, the APX MLE 1916 and APX MLE 1917 models of the Lebel rifle with adjustable telescopic sights were issued in numbers during WW1, beginning in late 1916. Post-World War I use. Because of negative factors during the late 1920s and 1930s, a depressed economy, reduced war budgets under the Popular Front led by Leon Blum, and neglect at high military levels, notably by then War Minister, Marshal Philippe Pétain, the French army was slow to modernize its infantry weapons. For instance, production of the bolt-action MAS 36 rifle began much too late, in 1937, although its prototype had already been approved in 1929. As a result, MAS 36 rifles to equip French infantry were in short supply when World War II broke out in September 1939. Furthermore, a thoroughly tested French semi-automatic rifle was also ready to be placed into production by 1939. But due to the German occupation of France during the Second World War, 5 more years had to pass before this gas-operated weapon, the MAS 1939 and MAS 40, could be issued as the MAS 44, MAS 49 and MAS 1949-56 series. Another adverse result of all these delays is that Lebel rifles, many of which had since been shortened into a carbine-length version, the MLE 1886 M93R35, were still in the hands of second-line troops at the outbreak of the war. There are pictures of Italian Social Republic infantrymen armed with M1886s, probably resurrected from a shipment provided by the French in World War I to replace the rifles lost by Italy after the Caporetto defeat. Likewise, in 1944 the German Wehrmacht had issued some captured M1886 Lebel rifles, given the German identification code GUR 301F, to some of their occupation troops in France, but in limited numbers. Some 10 years later, during the Algerian War, Lebel rifles were issued to the local civilian populations for self-defense. Functional Lebel rifles have been brought back in recent years from the mountains of Afghanistan. Users: Algeria, Kingdom of Hejaz, Kingdom of Serbia, Belgium, Ethiopian Empire, France, Kingdom of Greece, Kingdom of Italy, Monaco, Compagnie des Carabiniers du Prince, Nazi Germany, issued to Volkssturm units, Poland, Second Polish Republic, Romania, Kingdom of Romania, Russia, Somalia, Spain, Second Spanish Republic, Thailand, United Kingdom, issued to Home Guard units after Dunkirk, Vietnam, used by Viet Minh 1945 to 1949. Lebel Model 1886 rifle. Fusil Modeli 1886/M93. Type bolt action rifle. Place of origin France. Service history. In service 1887 present. Used by sea users. Wars Boxer Rebellion. French colonial expeditions. First Italo-Ethiopian War. Monegasque Revolution. World War I. Franco-Turkish War. Polish-Soviet War. Spanish Civil War. Second Italo-Ethiopian War. World War II. Algerian War, Limited. Production history. Designer team led by General Tremond, Grass, Lebel, Va, Bonnet, de Sailor, Close, Verdun. Designed 1885. Manufacturer French State Manufactures, Châtellerault, Saint-Étienne, and Toul. Produced 1887-1920. No built 3,450,000. Specifications. Weight 4.41 kilograms, 9.7 pounds. Loaded with 10 rounds. 4.18 kilograms, 9.2 pounds. Unloaded. Length 130 cm, 51.2 in. Barrel length 80 cm, 31.5 in. Cartridge 8 x 50 mm Lebel. Caliber 8 mm. 4 grooves, right to left twist. Action bolt action. Muzzle velocity 610 to 700 m/s. 2000 to 2300 feet/s. Effective firing range 400 m, 438 yards, individual targets. Maximum firing range 1800 m, 1644 yards, volley fire at massed area targets. Feed system 8-round tube magazine +1 in the elevator.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.